Hey, what's up guys? So Uniden has just released a firmware update for the R3. It's firmware version 1.65, and it's a pretty minor update with two key changes. However, these changes are actually pretty welcome changes. And so in this video, let's go over what the two new improvements are with this latest firmware update for the R3. Now, the first improvement to talk about is a change to the K-Block 3 option, specifically designed to help filter out those pesky Mazda CX-5s. Now, they first added this feature back in firmware version 1.63, and in that video, when I went over the update, I mentioned how I thought that the frequency range that it covered, 24.121 to 124, was a little bit too wide, specifically because of the fact that you can and do see police officers transmit with their radar guns tuned right around 24.125-ish. And so for that reason, I wanted maybe a less aggressive K-Block to deal with those CX-5s. CX-5s are typically only going to false around 24.123 to 124, just those two specific frequencies. And so for that reason, with this new firmware update here in 1.65, they've actually tightened up the frequency range that the K-Block covers. And so now it's only going to be covering 24.123 and 124. And in my experience testing it out, I've been playing around with a couple different settings and options, again, specifically because I don't want to be too aggressive with this frequency range because cops transmit there. And what I found is testing maybe first the K-Block weak option, where I'm just meeting weak signals but allowing stronger ones to punch through. That's somewhat effective against the CX-5s, but there are a couple situations where I get punch-throughs with the R3 set to weak. Most of the time when I'm driving around, the filter does a good job of knocking out those blind spot falses. However, there are going to be some situations where you're driving maybe like right next to one of the CX-5s. You've got a really strong signal that can punch through the R3's filter. And similarly, if you pull up behind a CX-5, like at a red light in stop and go traffic, for example, when you get really close to the car, that may actually trigger a blind spot false as well. Though in this situation, luckily you've got the low speed muting to fall back on. So you're still going to be getting some muting even if the blind spot false actually punches through that K-Block. Now, one feature with the R3 that I do find myself missing compared to like the R4, for example, is actually the additional controls for the quiet ride, specifically the quiet ride beep option. I like to turn down the volume all the way on the quiet ride beeps just to make the detector extra quiet when I'm driving around at low speeds. With the R3, because you don't have that option, you are going to be getting two beeps initially to let you know there's a K-band signal, and then it's going to go ahead and drop the volume for you. I would love to have the ability to kind of like fully silence at low speed, but we don't have that option here on the R3 the way that we have for the R4. Speaking of the R4, I've also asked Uniden, like, hey, you know, these features like these additional K-blocks, they're very helpful for, you know, the R3 and the R7, but like, when are you going to bring those features over to your flagships like the R4 and the R8? They said that they are working on it, but it looks like for whatever reason, they're bringing it to the R3 and the R7 first. Now, the second new feature that's being introduced is a change to the way the red light cameras alert, specifically when you're driving around like a parking lot or something. Now, the issue is sometimes if you're sitting in a parking lot, you'll actually see the detector like repeatedly alert to a nearby red light camera. You'll get an alert and then it may go quiet, and you get another alert and it goes quiet, and then another alert or something. It's kind of annoying. Now, the reason this happens actually seems to go back to GPS drift. If you've ever noticed situations sometimes like if you're stationary, you're parked, the detector may show like 1, 2, 3 miles an hour on the display, right? That just has to do with a little bit of GPS drift. And what can happen is if the detector thinks you're kind of slower to like moving around like this, it might think you're going towards a red light camera and then away from it, and then towards it and away from it and towards it from away from it. So it seems like you're repeatedly driving towards the red light camera, even though you're actually totally stationary and not moving at all. Now, to help resolve this issue, what they've done is with this new update, they've actually set it up to ignore all red light camera alerts if you're driving below 5 kilometers per hour. So stationary with a little bit of GPS drift. What I found in practice is this seems to work well. If you start up in like a parking lot that you've got a nearby red light camera, is now going to be totally silent. It's only when you start to drive, going really slowly above that 5 kilometer per hour threshold, that then you will start to resume getting your red light camera alerts. And so either way, this is a very welcome change that it's actually been bugging me for a while with Uniden detectors, and I'm glad to see that they finally addressed it here in the R3, and I hope that they actually bring this over to a lot of their other detectors as well. And speaking of updates, it looks like Uniden's also just released new update software for Windows, which you can grab on their website as well. I know they're going to be doing some work with new versions of the Mac update software too. I'm not sure when that's going to be coming out, but it looks like they're working on that as well. So that's definitely good to see. But either way, as far as this new update, yeah, it's adding some improvements to the Mazda CX-5 K-Block, as well as to the red light camera alert, specifically when you're like starting up your car in a parking lot or something. Other than that, I know people might be wondering about like the R3 SE firmware. I talked about that more in the 1.63 video, but in short, I still think that that third-party paid firmware update is going to be much better than what we have currently with Uniden's version here, 1.65. It has the K-block, you know, with the tighter K-blocks and stuff. It's got more K-blocks. It's got automatic sensitivity adjustments. It's got a lot of additional features as well. So if you're running an R3, I still think that would be the way to go. But if you're looking for just, you know, the default Uniden free firmware update, you can grab that one. 1.65 does have some nice little tweaks here compared to what we've had before. So either way, always happy to see continued improvements and changes here with our detectors. For more information about anything that we've discussed here in this video, whether it's where to get the new update software, how to update your detector, what the changes are, or even where to purchase the detector, I'll have links to everything that you need down in the video description. And so with that said, thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys are doing well, and I'll see you in the next video.